Already done.
Trade secrets.
I need to send it to Sarah Duell.
Sarah Duell.
Welcome, everyone, to a secretive, rumor-filled episode of Dude Soup. You don't know what it is. You have to rely on an anonymous source to tell you what it is.
It's only one source. That means it's a rumor.
But then, a day later, someone tweets that soup isn't what you thought it was. So, anyway.
Lawrence is already upset.
Yeah, this episode... No, I'm not upset.
He's heated.
He's already upset.
He just heated.
I'm calm. Look at
No,
this.
you're heated.
Look at this.
Settle down,
look
heat
at this.
boy. You're like the Human Torch over there.
Look at this.
I see a little jitter. Read the thing.
Yeah, there was a little jitter. This episode of Dude Soup is brought to you by Harry's, fine purveyors of subscription shaving stuff that comes to you in the mail. They're currently doing a Father's Day promotion, so if you are a father or have one, or had one at some point,
Are you a
you should be
father?
interested.
No, but maybe I should do it for my father.
Yeah.
Real quick,
Gotta shave?
just go to harrys.com. We have a code DUDE that'll give you 5% off your Father's Day set. More information about that later.
Ooh.
First, we got some spice to discuss, or rather rediscuss.
It's the fact that Joel's back on the podcast.
Joel's back, everyone.
Oh, man. That's so spicy.
No longer banned.
Joel?
Was he banned?
Yeah.
I was banned?
He was.
Why'd we ban him?
Because he would interrupt the ad reads.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Boom.
He got banned.
Well, that was too on the
Almost
nose.
did it again this time.
You can tell whenever
but then-
Joel gets real
he
quiet.
almost did it again this time, but then Lawrence handled it.
I remember the ban.
All right. Why are people mad?
Because
Adam, why are people mad?
we told them something they wanted to believe, and then they refused to believe it.
Oh,
Which is
right.
weird. Okay, so
God
this
is
is
dead.
Not everybody.
Recap.
No, God's not dead. Kevin Sorbo told me.
Okay.
Sorbo. Hercules?
Yep.
Recap.
So recap. We stretched our little journalism fingers, and we're privy to a particular rumor from an anonymous source that Microsoft was in talks with Konami to buy the Silent Hill property, and part of that would be making Silent Hills an Xbox One exclusive.
Ooh.
Pretty interesting stuff. Not entirely unbelievable yet. Other details got a little less believable, namely that the purchase price for the property was potentially in the $1 billion range.
So over $1 billion.
Yes.
Is what we're talking
And that also Silent Hills as a game was at this point 80% complete and could feasibly be released by March of 2016 as an Xbox One exclusive. And just based on like that gut check, a lot of people called bullshit, which I don't fault them at all for.
Yeah, sure.
I would do that too. In fact, kind of did the first time I heard about it. So, we did our fact checking behind the scenes and then came to the conclusion that even though it initially sounded like it was a load of bullshit, after we kind of talked through it and may or may not have checked around, can neither confirm nor deny that. We came to the conclusion that actually it did make a lot of sense eventually. So what we can do right now is take a little more time, blow a little more hot air, maybe not cold air, and explain ourselves.
So we reported that a little less than a week ago.
Yeah.
And the internet got upset at us.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of the internet got upset,
Yeah,
but
it's-
not all of the
Not all,
internet.
yeah.
all.
Some people had a healthy
Ironically-
amount of real skepticism.
Ironically,
I appreciate.
the
Exactly.
most upset portion of the internet was like other games media
Yeah, that's
they were,
true.
You know why they were upset?
Why?
because they weren't reporting it.
And because they weren't reporting it
Well-
because
Uh-oh.
we don't report real news.
Oh boy, the gauntlet,
So-
gauntlet was
But
dropped.
Just 'cause they hate us?
to understand the mentality, you have
That's 'cause they
you have
hate
to
us.
also understand games media in general,
Right.
which is for the most part to sit and wait for an email to pop into your inbox that says this is the news for the day or this is the new trailer. Go ahead and report on it now. Like there isn't any digging for anything going on.
So,
Well,
Because
all right,
maybe
yeah.
it's bullshit.
Maybe we're
let's
getting
let
ahead-
Bruce,
maybe
let's
we're
let
getting
Bruce
ahead of
level the
So
field.
I just want to give the sort of a chronology of what happened. So on Friday we reported it. For a while it looked like it was getting picked up by a bunch of different blogs, which is good. People were saying it looked ridiculous, but honestly, like you said, on the surface, it sounded pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Could have linked out to us a little bit more.
That's true. They could have.
A lot of people embedded the video.
I tried. Anyways, and that evening, I got a bunch of interesting phone calls and text messages about how people were angry on the industry side. Meaning, I think we riled up a bunch of different hornet's nests, and that causes me to believe that it might actually be true. That was something that I was very surprised about, because I didn't think, like the other leaks that we reported on back Inside Gaming Days, when we reported on those, there was really nothing happening. It was just sort of like, we did it, some of the blogs sourced them, and we moved on with our lives, and eventually they came true.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll come back to that.
Oh, yeah. And I was just going to say, and this one caused a little more turmoil, and that made me again think, hey, this actually might have some credence to it. Whereas before it was just sort of a rumor that I was like, well, it sounds like this could or could not happen. The more that people denied it, and the more that people said, like they were angry about it, the more I was like, interesting. I wonder if this actually is true.
So to be fair, we reported on it as a rumor, and we said
Yes.
this could or could not happen. This is what we're hearing, and then people said, well, your source, who you claim gave you the info about the Xbox One shipping without the Kinect, anyone could have called that. And then
which is not true at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people. At the time, Microsoft was very 100% staunchly saying we will never ever sell an Xbox One without a Kinect.
Yeah, I remember there were reply videos. People were like, Xbox won't do that, like on the user side, and we're like, no, this is true. And they're like, well, not everything you said came true. I believe in that story, we said that the Xbox One would get a price drop, and then, it'd sell without the Kinect.
Yep, check.
And then there would be a model for $350 with a smaller hard drive.
Okay, well, hold on.
Yep.
There's a check there in the sense that the Xbox did sell for $350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hard drive stayed the same size.
Hard drive
though.
stayed the same size, which is, in my opinion, sort of crazy. And I think our rumor actually seemed more truthful than an absurd $350 Xbox with the same hard drive.
Well, I
If
think
we'd said that, they'd be like, okie dokie.
Yeah, it never
you
would have
dum
been.
dum.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what it
I
is.
think pre-Spencer that probably would have happened. I think pre-Spencer the Xbox division probably would have said, okay, we're going to cut the cost, but we have to squeeze nickel and dime, like any kind of savings we can get if we're going to slash the price like this. I think Phil Spencer was like, no, we're not going to have an inferior version of the hardware out there.
It's also, when we got the news, it didn't happen until later, and it was reactionary to Don Matrick leaving, Phil Spencer taking over, and them getting their asses handed to them by the PlayStation.
So this is a long way of us saying that we have done this in the past, and the majority of what we said came out to be true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there is a reason why we trust the source.
And also kind of cut to the heart of the matter. We didn't make it up for attention,
God, no.
And that was kind of one of the, not necessarily an outright implication, but that's certainly what a lot of people implied. If we did that, we would do that every week. It's not hard to make things up that people want to hear. And then the other part of it is, I get it. I get why people would say, like, that's bullshit, because that's essentially what we said the first time we heard it, and we even said that in the video.
Yeah.
There is this tendency of, like, games writers and people that cover the gaming industry to trust their gut when it comes to things like this, and typically that works. If you've covered the industry long enough, you just kind of get a sense for how things work, and this is definitely not business as usual. So if you're a games writer or a beat cover of gaming industry stuff, and you hear this, you're like, that is bullshit, and let me tell you why. So then a lot of that stuff happened, and I don't particularly blame people for that.
Well, I mean, not just trusting your gut. Like I said, I think they trust their inbox.
I guess there's that. Yeah,
They
there's
didn't
that
get
too.
it. They didn't get a PR email or anything that says
They
like,
hadn't
"This is
heard
what
this
we're doing."
rumor,
So,
right.
so like,
Well, it is this weird thing. This reminds me of how much Polygon hated covering Hatred, but did 14 articles on it. It was the sort of thing of like, there would be coverage of it, like, here's this rumor, but it's not true. It's like, yeah, but you got a headline out of it, and you got coverage, so why are you even writing about it? Like, I'm just talking from the blog perspective of, like, if you don't believe this stuff, then don't write about it. Instead, they'll write 3 articles about why it's not true.
Right.
And it's kind of like,
Well,
okay.
or why they'd never write articles on whatever the content is. that
Yeah.
they
For a
write
lot of
about.
people, reporting
strange.
on the news, they consider that to be news, and also
Yeah.
they consider that to be part of their part. We don't take journalistic standards very seriously. We don't consider ourselves journalists. Now, when we have a story like this, we
try and adhere to the rules of journalism.
by saying like this is a rumor, like this
Yeah.
is whatever.
Because that's important to us. Like that, we don't want to sour our credibility or anybody else's for that matter. And again, we said over and over and over, this is one anonymous source, and it is a rumor. That was really important. I think Lawrence said it 3 times, and I was thinking to myself, like, boy, that's almost too much that we said it. And people still didn't get it. People still were like, I can't believe this is bullshit.
Yeah.
They're lying to us. And I was like, we said it was a rumor over and over and over.
Saying it's unconfirmed, and if apparently there's a deal and it's still in talks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not over.
So I'd like to take this moment to kind of dive a little deeper into the story and explain our thought process and why we kind of came around to.
well, we said the follow-up too, right? Phil Spencer tweeted out and said,
Yeah, we
"This is
covered that.
untrue."
We
Okay.
covered that in the
That's
know.
right, in the news story.
I'm just saying, did we?
No, we haven't talked about
Okay,
it.
yeah.
So
So that was
finish
the
your-
follow-up on the weekend, yeah. So that's where we left off.
Yeah, so we basically had an internal discussion, kind of gut checking ourselves, and we were thinking like, okay, so we have this story. It is apparently bullshit. But is there a way in which it makes sense? So we can talk about a few of this stuff. First of all, the $1 billion figure is apparently very high, and we said that in the episode, for a property that has been dormant for a long time. Like Downpour came out, but that didn't really amount to much.
They said something like total sales of the franchise is like 9 million.
Yeah, so there are a few aspects by which Silent Hill as a property is a lot more appealing than just a dormant franchise that nobody really cares about anymore. The first one that a lot of people didn't consider are the movies. This first Silent Hill did pretty well in terms of box office. The second one not so well, but still earned money. So you're not just talking about an old game franchise. You're also talking about a property that has been successfully converted into movies. So now it's a transmedia property, and that word by itself adds a lot to a price tag. I think also another aspect is that Microsoft is actually pretty forward-looking. They bought Minecraft.
They try to be, yeah.
And I think what they see, presuming this is true, I think what they see in Silent Hill is a Five Nights at Freddy's style IP that they can own lock, stock, and barrel, basically. Yeah. So they saw the success of Five Nights at Freddy's on YouTube. They saw the success of PT, and they're thinking there's not really another horror games franchise that's poised to blow up like this in new media on YouTube with like streamers and stuff. And they know that's how games are marketed nowadays. Or that's the most successful way to market one. So
I was gonna say once you account everything in there, and then also it's not like because I'm still erring on the side of like that's a lot of fucking money. Maybe even too much. And if Microsoft were to buy it for $1 billion, I'd be like, yeah, you got screwed, buddy. But at the same time, they aren't writing a check for $1 billion.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
There's stock, there's equity, there's other things. And the way, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never been part of a company that actually got bought out or anything, but typically when one company comes in to scoop up another, the way it works through an IPO or anything like that, they buy, 10 times the amount of whatever the company is worth? Joel would know better.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. Look, I also didn't go to business school, but my understanding is the valuation of the company is 10 times worth what their or the buying price is 10 times worth the valuation of the company.
We should clarify, it's not a company, it's a franchise.
Right.
The
I'm just saying,
even more so when you get into a deal like this. Also, haven't been to business school, but when it's two large companies that have money, right? They can serve each other in this way by saying, yes, we will give you this amount of equity in our company of which the stock is worth a ton. And then, yes, that is a lot of stock to give out, but like that basically could be made back by Microsoft because people are buying into their stock. It's like not going to disserve them to be selling stock at this rate. Like it's just that when two big companies are managing stuff, they can set the number as high as they want to, and then figure out how to make that deal work. So that way, say taxes come along or something, like maybe it behooves them to have a larger number, so that way you have a bigger write-off, like all kinds of stuff.
And as part of the conversation about the price, one of the things you guys pointed out to me this morning that I didn't see was Cliff Blazinski's comment on
he made a lot of good points
this weekend.
Right. The one industry person who vocally commented on the issue.
Who's able to, because he's not really in the industry anymore.
Well, yeah, but who has...
He is, but he's independent.
He's a boss key now.
You have a ton of games media people who aren't game developers, right? Who don't really know.
They don't know the
game development. They're not part of the business.
Yeah.
So they're just enthusiasts.
He said a lot of really
he
smart
basically
stuff.
was like, "This is not absurd."
Yeah.
Like this is not an absurd.
Makes sense.
Your reaction is kind of unwarranted because this is not an absurd deal. And he even cited the getting their foot in the door as a horror franchise, which is now poised to go viral, like stuff like that. Like he was pretty much on point with a lot of these things.
Yeah, I wonder if they had like projected sales numbers with the amount, like we don't know what the number is, but
like player data on PT.
Yeah, they're like PT was downloaded 8 million times. They're gonna be like, holy shit, like we need to buy this.
Well, it's also just a brand ambassador thing, like, and this plays into PT getting pulled from the PlayStation Store. So imagine Silent Hills becomes a YouTube phenomenon, and like PewDiePie and Markiplier and all the big YouTubers are playing it. And Microsoft and Xbox branding are all over all of those videos. Mm-hmm. That's a sort of like brand penetration that you pay a lot of money for because it's organic and really effective. That's a lot better than shelling out a shitload of money to buy ad space on X Games or something.
So
like
regardless, with all that said, if they have the cash and they've got the equity, it becomes slightly more realistic that Microsoft could pay potentially $1 billion with stock and other options. So when you hear that number, you're like, that's way too much. But then when you kind of stop and think about it and go, oh, well, actually that might work if they're buying the IP out outright, and they have now of a movie franchise and a video game series.
I saw a lot of places. Oh, you want to go?
I was just going to say really quick, let me go back to Saturday, the day after we reported on it, because that's when Phil Spencer, we didn't explicitly say what Phil Spencer said, which he said, sorry, I don't want to mislead anybody. Sorry, this isn't true. That's what he tweeted.
He said this is untrue.
Yeah,
I believe.
this is untrue.
I'll look it up.
I mean, like, again, Microsoft has denied numerous things that have come through. I think this is something that Phil Spencer wanted to quickly quiet as fast as he could, and that's what he tweeted, and it sort of put the whole story to rest for the rest of the internet. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, back to the business side of things too. A lot of people, I saw several websites doing a breakdown of other big deals in like media, and it was like, oh well, Amazon bought Twitch for however much money,
almost $1 billion,
and then Minecraft paid, what was it, 2.5 billion for Mojang and Minecraft and all that. So there's all these big numbers, and like Silent Hill doesn't fit in with these at all. The difference there is that those are big deals, but they also have to, like, they have costs. So when Amazon buys Twitch, they have to consider that they're going to have to operate Twitch now. Like, it's not necessarily just we have an IP that we can do whatever we want to whenever we want. Like, it's different. We are buying your facilities and your things, and this is going to incur cost upon us, and that must be factored into the price as well.
And you're not doing any of that with Silent Hills. You're actually just buying a franchise.
And then they can put whatever development team they have.
And what's interesting about that is if the game is 80% complete, like we reported, then they're basically buying a video game that's already done that they know will sell well.
Here's another thing about video games, by the way. Everyone played PT. That's the game engine, right? Yeah. That's the game engine. That's the lighting engine. That's everything. So also, I saw people say like, well, Norman Reedus hasn't said anything about doing like hard motion capture for the game. He's only done like facial scans and things like that. Yeah, but if it's a first-person game like PT was, we don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but if it
would be cutscene material.
If it is, then they don't need him for all that much.
Also, so yeah, the 80% complete figure was the other thing that a lot of people cited as like, no way, impossible.
Way, yeah.
So a couple of things is that PT came out about a year ago at this point, and that means that a year ago, the engine was complete, the interface was complete, assuming that that Silent Hills is going to play like PT did. All the technical stuff is done. So it's just content creation and testing at that point.
Yeah.
And a year is a lot of time to do that.
Yeah.
So, again, I can understand the skepticism, but to go from, let's rough estimate maybe 40-50% complete when PT released to 80% now is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And then Norman Reedus, said, I haven't done any mocap for the game, but that was in December.
He also did tweet out the thing.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah, he tweeted out a fan site.
And I'm not here to presume that Norman Reedus knows about the same with Guillermo del Toro. Like, his name was attached to it, yes, but like honestly, it's not like he's hanging over their shoulders as they're typing out code and doing the testing of the game and stuff. Like, he's probably getting a phone call or in a meeting once or twice a month looking over concept art and saying, does this look scary to you, Guillermo? And he goes, yes, it is. And then they go, all right, let's move on.
Well, to me, it seemed very coincidental that Norman Reedus tweeted out that fan site about the whole, basically like, bring back Silent Hills hashtags and stuff like that. It was like 4 hours after our story went up. And I thought that was sort of interesting because that fan site went up, I think, the day before. Like, all that stuff hit at once. And I thought that was really a really interesting coincidence that maybe this is like the whole engine, I guess the games journalism engine firing up, trying to drum up, I guess, hype for Silent Hills before E3, because if Microsoft was going to reveal it at E3, then we might have stolen a little bit of their thunder. But since Phil Spencer tweeted back the next day and said, no, don't worry about it, I think he can still do it at E3 or any other time for that matter.
We made a video that got like 200,000 views. Like,
that isn't that much.
Yeah, no, it's not. It didn't get millions of views. Like, people called it like, this isn't an iPhone leak. This is a very small story. I mean, that's the thing that kind of scares me about it, is that like it wasn't drumming that much controversy or interest online. Like, it had some because it was kind of like a weekend news story. This game sucks. But I'm wondering if like just people aren't that interested in Silent Hill. Like, if it really isn't as big of a deal as Microsoft thinks it is.
Well, but like Lauren said, it's been a year since the excitement of PT kind
Which
of
was huge.
winded, which was
huge.
big.
And I know the games industry is excited about Silent Hills because we saw every blog report on it.
Sure, but I mean, we've seen this before. It's like Reddit. What Reddit likes isn't gonna, or what the internet likes. You can be happy about the Serenity film all you want. It's still gonna bomb at the box office because you fuckers won't get out of your. No one's gonna watch it. You'd rather just pirate it or not see it at all or wait for a free copy.
When was the last quote unquote
I'm actually
good Silent Hill game, Lawrence?
I wasn't getting mad at the end. I was getting mad at people who I actually knew. They talked about Serenity for years and then they didn't see it. Anyway, sorry.
In terms of quality, probably
Still talking about
nice.
Firefly.
Still going.
I didn't want anyone to get personally
Like
offended.
the last well-regarded Silent Hill game. When was it?
Well, I really liked Shattered Memories, but nobody played that one. I would say like the last widely appreciated Silent Hill was probably 4, and that was on
when?
PlayStation 2.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
That was like
giant-
that was like 2006.
Giant bunny suit thing.
that's why I think there's not a lot of love for it right now. And I think my feeling is that the audience is probably primed for a total relaunch, reinvigoration of the series. The PT hype was huge, and I would also say that Microsoft was really savvy if they are picking this up, because horror games are the most exciting content to watch on YouTube.
Yep.
When a good horror game comes along, and there's been this huge, I won't even say resurgence in horror games, because I'd say there really wasn't like a horror game movement at any point. They were always just sort of dribbled out, but now there's like...
I would say it started with Doom 3 videos of people filming their friends when they would open this one locker and it'd spook them. That was kind of where it started.
But I guess my point is that like now horror games are a genre that they weren't, even I'd say 5 years ago. Like the
like
quantity.
Slender Man and Amnesia
Five
and
Nights at
Outlast,
Freddy's
Five Nights at Freddy's, all those.
The scare cam.
Yeah.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah. It's basically MTV's Fear, but with video games.
So I mean that's my response to, well, is the audience even interested? I think if it's a good product, if it's really cool, and it hits the right way, then yeah, obviously people will be interested in it, because like they're interested in all these dumb indie games that they never heard of before.
Yeah, no, that's true. The more I thought about this idea, I think Lawrence and I sort of talked about it, and whether or not we talked ourselves into it or whatever, we both thought it made a lot of sense. And speaking from my personal perspective, when I've worked for large companies like Comcast and AOL and things like that, and the decisions that came from on high never made any sense to me. I was always like, what the fuck are they thinking? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
This happened all the time when I worked for large companies. I mean, it still happens for smaller companies too, but this kind of thing isn't out of the realm of possibility just because you don't get it. Just because you personally don't understand it doesn't mean that there isn't 40 lawyers and 50 very experienced businessmen thinking over this.
I would also say
for
that
months.
for the Sony people that are really upset about it, it'll never happen. Like, you are the reason that exclusivity exists.
Yeah, right.
Because of people like you who say, "Oh my God," well, you're gonna get
Just this verbiage is probably going to really upset people.
Well, I mean,
You're
listen.
triggering someone, Joel.
What Joel's saying is the same if the roles were flipped.
Oh, yeah,
This is
Sure,
what
sure,
Sony
sure,
and
sure.
Microsoft.
Yeah. I mean, I'm nothing against PlayStation fanboys or Xbox fanboys.
Phony
It's just
pony.
The reason that exclusivity exists is that so people who are really invested in a franchise, who fucking love it and will do anything to play it, will say, "Fucking hell." Like,
I gotta buy this
didn't
thing
think
now.
I was gonna have to do it. Now I have to fucking buy an Xbox to play this game.
People were saying that about PS4.
Yeah, we saw a lot of comments on our episode.
Like,
about
I bought a PS4 for PT.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm like, now I gotta buy an Xbox. Well, not yet. Give it some time. I guess kind of my last final thought on this topic is I'm kind of fascinated at some of the anger that came out of because we reported on it. It's so strange because to me, like I've been doing gaming news for a very long time, and there used to be a lot of news. But game companies have gotten very good about managing messaging. Basically, they just squash all of their employees all the time. You cannot say anything or be thought of as speaking for the company ever. A lot of companies even have NDAs, like they're not allowed to have social media accounts and things like that. So things just aren't said anymore. There's not a lot to talk about.
Do you think it's for better? Well,
Yeah, for better or worse is really not my purview, but it's really interesting to me that people would get so mad given that we did exactly what a lot of people want people in our position to do. We learned some interesting information, some information that I would think a lot of gamers would want to know about. It came from a source that we trusted, and we relayed that to the audience in the most accurate way we possibly could. And yet still there was a lot of anger, and I think the emotional side of it is people don't want to get their hopes up about something that may not happen. But then it gets reworded as like, oh, you're just manipulating us, you're just making up information, and we haven't done that, so it's kind of weird.
We're not that creative, honestly. Like, that's not a story I could make up, honestly. And when that came to us, I remember sitting there going, oh, wow, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of thing where fast forward a year from now, and let's say Sony or Microsoft buys Silent Hills, someone's going to go, well, of course they did.
Yeah. Everyone knew they were.
Yeah. Yes. Of course Hitler was going to invade Poland. We saw that coming from a mile away.
What's really funny is when I first heard it, I was just sort of like, well, I guess this is sort of small news. Like, I didn't think it was a big deal. I was like, cool, we'll put it out there, see what the response is and move on with our lives.
Yeah.
I did not expect the response that we got. I didn't expect all the anger and like bullshit mentality. I expected just sort of like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, when I see reactions where like, we can't trust you, it's like, we said, don't trust us. Like, we said it in the video. We said, there's a rumor. Don't get too excited. This is the information, relaying it to you. Take it with a giant grain of salt, please. Like, that's in the video. And I don't know. I guess people just want to believe.
I think a lot of people didn't watch the video, and that like shouldn't be surprising at this point. But a lot of people were like you guys are shit. And I replied to a lot of these people saying, listen, we told you exactly the situation, and we cautioned you specifically to be skeptical of this information. Then they were like, oh, okay. Like, so I think the headline got out there because it's a really spicy headline, and then people just got mad at us for saying it was true. Yeah, spicy like Joel.
Toasty.
Yeah. Either way, I'm as someone who's just kind of generally interested in what PT was and what the future of Silent Hills is. I just hope something gets announced at E3.
I'm never of the mind that you can convince anybody of anything online.
Sure.
Honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm much more of the
at
least in our jobs. I'm much more of the mindset of let's present the information. They're totally not going to agree with it. And then if we're right in 8 months, we'll be able to say, we were right. And if we were wrong and it never happens, then we will absolutely probably issue a retraction.
And I was going to say,
as we do.
Totally. And if somebody decides to, the interesting thing about this, before we reported it, we talked about how when we report it, this could actually change the deal. Mm-hmm. Like, this could change the terms of the deal that was going on at the very moment. Who knows? So, like, we might have changed the course of what that was going to be.
Sorry.
We observed light moving in both a particle. Because of how we observed light, it decided to be a particle or waveform. Is that how it goes?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, if you're talking about quantum mechanics, which does influence how light behaves, it's the principle of you can either know where it is or where it's going, but you can never know both at the same time.
Right, but
what's happening?
Oh, never mind.
Light is a particle and a wave.
It's a particle and a wave at the same time, but you can't see it in both states at the same time. So you can only see it in one state. And by observing it,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. State
How you doing, James?
I wish my amiibo didn't break.
Yeah,
that's really sad.
I wish my amiibo would break a hand.
Well,
okay. I guess I'm assuming we hit everything there. So
I think the big takeaway from all of this is and I don't think this is for the people who are watching it. I don't think are really these people, but a lot of the people who flew in and said, "How dare you say something like this? This is just an attention grab." I hope that for you, this is a clear indication that it wasn't a unthought through attention grab. It was a methodically decided upon, totally justified. Using our logic, right, and I think which pretty sound logic,
eventually
to justify our reasoning for putting a rumor out there.
Well, we also sat on this story for a couple days. This wasn't like it came in and then an hour later we're like, let's do it. Like we knew about it.
And we were talking about it. I suggested at the begining that we maybe even hold it till Monday.
Yeah,
we can talk about it a little bit longer.
Yeah, but we were very surprised at the response.
All right.
Regardless, our feelings are not hurt. Hopefully, it doesn't sound like we're like whining about how people are mad at us. I don't care.
No, we're on the internet. We're used to this stuff.
Yeah,
it's just puzzling.
It's just clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity for clarity's sake. We did a thing. This is why we did a thing, and we are not creative nor smart enough to create or manifest fake news. What? No, I'm just saying we're pretty straightforward when we cover the news. We're like, what are the facts? What are this like? We do a surprising amount of fact checking, and instead of just spewing things out there, like my biggest problem with blogs for the longest time was it's just copy and paste. And so instead of getting the one news story I want, I'm getting 12 different versions of it, and the repost usually has misleading information. You have to go down the rabbit hole like 6 posts later of all the via, and then you'll finally get the actual correct information. I don't like that. So like in a way we kind of do that. So I'm actually very grateful for the amount of work that Lawrence and Bruce do that We get all the facts right, typically. And when we're wrong, we'll do the retraction.
Yeah,
and we'll get the information correct. It's usually with modders' names and stuff like that. But, you guys are really good at that.
Oh, thank you.
We'll see what happens at E3.
I just sit there and read words.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed something happens with that game. I would love
right.
something to happen, because Konami's doing weird shit right now.
And then just to make it extra pandering, I think ultimately the reason we want to explain ourselves is that we understand the value of trust when it comes to the audience, and we don't want to seem like Adam was saying, that we just invented something for the sake of inventing it. We want you guys to believe that when we relate something, that we've put some thought behind it, and because we want you guys to trust us, because we know you're not gonna watch some guys bullshit about stuff, and if you don't trust them or respect their opinions or respect the work they do. So
Exactly.
we wanted to make sure that at least our motivations were conveyed accurately. On that note, one thing else you want to make sure accuracy is involved in is your shave.
Nice job. That was really good.
Was it? I don't know about that.
I thought so.
So this episode of Dude Soup is sponsored by Harry's, which offers a limited edition Father's Day set. Comes in a sleek box with a customizable card.
Ooh.
So you can order it for the father in your life, even if that might be you.
Joel, don't interrupt.
I can't even gasp and wonder.
You can gasp.
No.
You can even personalize the razor. You can get both razor and razor stand engraved for Dad with his initials. The giftable set includes a chrome Winston handle, 3 of Harry's high-quality German-engineered blades, a bottle of shaving cream or foaming gel, and Harry's new razor stand shipped straight to your door. It's a stress-free way to give a great gift this year with no lines and no hassle. Just go to harrys.com and use our code DUDE for $5 off. Joel has used the razors extensively. What is your experience with those, Joel?
Yeah, you can talk.
All right. I did not know we were recording the podcast this morning. I shaved with my Harry's this morning.
Whoa!
How does it look?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it looks
That's
pretty good.
That's pretty nice.
I've said it before. I really love it. The blades are great. The handle's got a nice weight, and I really like the aftershave lotion.
Would I surprise you guys to let you know that I also shaved?
Where?
My neck. See? I had a neck beard and I actually used it. I did the shave.
God, you guys have indomitable testosterone, Joel. You shaved like what, 6 hours ago, 8 hours ago?
Yeah, no, there it is.
I can already hear him rubbing his chin.
Oh yeah, it grows fast.
It's crazy.
Feels good though. It's smooth though. See, no neck beard.
So I'll say that I ordered some shaving cream online. It was highly rated, sandalwood scented. I thought, yes, here we go. I'm gonna live the life. But it's so thick. It's one of those that like when you shave a little bit with it, it gums up all of the razor stuff. So you have to
Gums up the weight.
yeah.
You're interrupting.
You got to bang it on the sink to get it all knocked out. But then I used the Harry's shaving gel, and it washed right out. made my shave clean, efficient, and fast. So thank you, Harry's. So once again, that's harrys.com, and use our code DUDE, D-U-D-E, for $5 off your Father's Day set. So thank you, Harry's, for sponsoring us, and hopefully you, viewer, will latch onto this ability to show your father the respect he deserves in an easy way.
Lawrence, when you use old-timey phrases like that, I will require you to use an old-timey man voice.
What old time? What did I?
It depends on what you're complaining about,
That's
son.
old time. That's like a. That's a. I don't know.
When did I say an old time?
Homeless grandpa.
Gums up the works.
Oh, I see.
Comes up the word.
Sorry.
That was a prospector voice. That's weird. Anyway.
I don't know.
Alright.
My mind just kind of spazzes out and latches onto whatever word it can find in the moment of panic when I realize
Why
I
did we
don't.
pick this game, by the way?
No idea what I'm saying.
Who picked this
Blades.
game?
Lawrence did.
I
What
have to
else
say,
is there?
I'm getting pretty frustrated watching Adam play this
Play
game.
something
Please
else.
play it.
Yeah, here.
I want nothing to do with this because I'm trying to engage in a conversation, James.
You have to kill all the generals around a city and then do something to capture it. I don't remember what.
I think it's fun to watch.
This game's really old.
guess.
Well, also, it looked like Adam was trying to play it like
You're running out of
Legend
time.
Zelda,
Yeah.
except that it's like there's a time
Yeah.
time
So
battle.
so whenever you engage in
I
a
didn't know that.
whenever you
That's
engage
what
in a
all those bars are on the
Yeah.
bottom right.
I can barely see stuff. There's
and
mics
then you
shit
can
in the way.
swap into a different system.
yeah, you can swap into a different unit
Okay.
which has a rock paper scissors.
Well,
associated.
fuck
Enemy
me for
defeated.
thinking this was
I
like
hit the
Dynasty
button
Warriors,
twice.
right?
Enemy defeated.
I don't know what you're doing either. Look, to be fair to Adam, I have no idea.
So basically, you will engage in a scenario, and that scenario will have a win condition, and then you fight on this map, and it might be like defeat so many generals, capture so many cities. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's how you play this game. Let's move on.
Yeah, please.
Here's the other rumor that we didn't start. It actually was started by a respectable Japanese outlet. Is that Nintendo's next console will run on Android, which is a cool thing, and it's also another topic that I think warrants a good amount of conversation. It's at this point fairly baseless. It's just some guy said it.
Is anybody freaking out about this?
No, they're not. All the blogs are reporting on it. Like,
Because,
I mean,
fuck?
and
because
this is the other thing.
It's not
Even
as
if,
charged, right?
I was gonna say, even if it proves to be true,
Yeah. So
like who really cares?
and you get a Nintendo box that plays different games again.
Yeah, I mean, for us, because like we're, I think everyone here is an Android user except for Spool. We're all kind of like, cool. I just got a Chromecast last weekend. Like, I love everything Android and Google related. So I'm like, huzzah.
So
Let's do it.
I guess one of the things one of the opportunities I wanted to grab onto now that we've got some time, and now that I've seen people discuss this, is that it seems a lot of people don't quite know what an operating system is. People talk about Android as though it is synonymous with phones or mobile. It's not. And in as much as Windows is synonymous with desktops, which actually a lot of people do think that anyway.
No, I think of it as my Surface RT tablet.
Yes.
I'm going to try
Piece
not
of
to
crap.
interrupt a lot because I don't know a lot of the technical stuff. And that is my way of saying try to make this as approachable to idiots like
Sure
me
thing, Joel.
as you can.
So here, Professor Lawrence is going to explain
Yeah, I'm
operating
curious to see
system.
if this works.
And Bruce, you can hop in here too, because I know you're familiar with this. But all right, here's the deal: an operating system, it's not the UI, although that's part of it. An operating system is just a way for you to utilize a piece of hardware's potential, basically. So you've got the metal, right?
You got it, Joel? All right.
Oh,
On
God.
board so
now,
far.
Now you're getting real stupid with
You got all the little chips, and the chips do all the math that you like. The chips draw the peoples, they play porn for you, except those chips don't do that by itself. You have to give it instructions.
right.
And if you were to do it manually, you'd basically be putting cards into a giant machine and pulling levers and operating like a really old-timey computer. An operating system basically schedules a bunch of tasks for you and interprets the things that you want it to do and then decides how that's going to happen.
Does that make sense?
That totally makes
All
sense.
right,
I'm
we're-
on board.
we're
So
in.
Joel,
And
you're
what makes Android so special?
nothing at all.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
open source. It's open source.
that's one thing that makes it special.
So
but
is Linux,
yeah,
but nobody is.
so is
programming
Linux,
video games
so is
on
Unix.
Well, Android's
consoles.
coded by Google, and the other ones are not.
Well, and Android is also the world's most popular OS. It is running on the most devices right now, and that's thanks to phone hardware.
It's a variation of Linux, right?
Yeah, it's a fork of Linux basically, but honestly, it goes back to Unix, and even Windows is a fork of Unix at this point after the NT kernel. That's some nerd shit. Anyway, the point is that that software layer where operating systems run, is not dependent on anything above or below it. Well, it is to a degree, but essentially you can have Android running on a phone, you can have Android running on a desktop, you can have Android running on a refrigerator. All it does is parcel out the hardware and schedule tasks and things like that.
That's a way for you, again, for me, the idiot, that's a way of you saying Nintendo's not going to look like your phone looks.
No. I had it described to me this way. This will
okay, here we
help.
go.
So, at the very top of your device, let's say it's your phone, it's what you see, the pictures and stuff, and like what you're touching.
The shell.
In the middle is the operating system, and below that is the hardware.
It's like the
So-
Earth's crust.
Right. So like this for the Nintendo NX.
Or delicious pie.
The Nintendo NX would be at the top would be pictures and Nintendo icons that
Yeah,
you
there
can
you
play. In the middle would be Android. At the bottom would be the hardware.
Yeah.
That's the way I had it described.
Yeah, this goes down to fragmentation. So
Yeah.
like James has the LG G3. That has a variation of Android on it. It's a customized version skinned by LG. Bruce and actually all of us, the rest of us who have Nexus devices, that is stock Android. That is the base version that you start with. I guess NX. Wow,
I'm burping a lot, I'm
that was
sorry.
a rough one.
Well,
Shit.
NX. It
I
sounds like
coughed in the middle of Joel talking, so I had to swallow a bunch of air to keep.
so. It sounds like NX would have a variation of Android similar to what LG does or
Sure.
Samsung does, where they skin it. They're all kind of moving more towards vanilla Android because it's good now, especially
you're
with the ever since ICS 4.0, like Android doesn't look
Ice
like
cream
shit.
sandwich.
Ugh, it's all named after
Yes.
fruits and stuff and desserts. Regardless, though, which it's good because from all of our experiences, Android's very stable now and it's very pretty. It usually seems to be dependent on the hardware. That's usually where it falters.
So, to extend what you were saying, Adam, listener, you might be asking yourself, okay,
Or Joel.
why does Android matter and what difference would it make? Basically, the difference is, the idea is, let's say I make a piece of software and I design it to run on Android, which means Android exposes a certain amount of functionality to me. So Android says, hey, program, if you want the time, call this particular function, and then I'll get the time for you. And the idea is that Android then knows how to get the time from this CPU and that CPU and that CPU. And no matter what CPU it's running on, you as a developer can say, Android, give me the time, and Android will give you the time no matter what it's running on. The idea being then that if Nintendo's hardware were to run on Android, a game you develop for a phone could then just run on Nintendo's hardware as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe not necessarily so universal because that's not necessarily implied, but the idea is that if you are a developer who has made something on Android in the past, you can then work on Nintendo's console and have a huge head start about how to get the time, or how to draw geometry, or how to do shadowing, or any number of other basic things that you'd have to relearn if you're just doing it on Nintendo's proprietary bullshit.
Well, I was going to say, this kind of goes back to what Nintendo was talking about of becoming having more unity in their OSs, because they have a big handheld division, they have a big living room division on
I wrote
consoles.
this down, was it?
Oh yeah, there is that quote. But
no, not quote. Hold on. There's Adam's greater theory of convergence. That's what I'm calling it.
Oh yeah. Well, and then also, Bruce, if you remember, we did cover the NX a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the patent showed that the console and the handheld was the same thing.
Right. It was like detachable, and you could connect to something in your house or take it with you or whatever.
Now all the pieces are starting to come together of like, oh, okay. What if your 3DS was just a controller, which it can be sometimes.
Yeah,
but
Smash.
But yeah, I think, and you kind of seen that with the Wii U, where it's like, okay, controller, giant screen, but it can't leave the living room. Now it's going to start making more sense that this is just an extension of that, and it's going to run all the same OS. I think that might be the biggest problem with the 3DS to Wii U is a different operating system.
The way I think about it is,
true.
For example, the controller or the Wii U right now has got the giant screen and with the buttons on the side of it. Mm-hmm. That's basically going to be their 3DS. And then you can use that to control your console at home, the NX, or take it with you, and then it'll be the 3DS, both of which are running on Android. And I think probably you have to pay a little extra or whatever for the 3DS controller for your NX, because then you can take that with you, and it's got mobile games on it from DNA or whatever. I think that's sort of the way Nintendo is imagining it. Whether or not it's going to shape up to be that, who knows? But that's what it sounds like to me. And the number one thing that to me that sounds like they're using Android for, and Lawrence brought all this up in the show today, was that they wanted all of the Android developers to start developing games for Nintendo. That was important to them, that there are almost hundreds of thousands of Android developers out there just waiting to develop games that could be run on a Nintendo.
Yeah.
So.
And how I see this factoring into Nintendo's weird, bizarre way of doing business is that something about the NX hardware will still make software exclusive to that platform. So, there will be some weird, maybe not a motion thing, but some kind of controller interface that basically means you can put Candy Crush on this if you want, but if you want to make a Nintendo game, you should utilize this feature of the console that makes games different somehow.
It's kind of funny, though, because we are almost describing the Ouya exactly.
Yeah.
Because it is an Android box, and it hooks up to your TV, and it's got its own peripherals and all this stuff. But to buy games, you have to go through the Ouya store.
Yeah.
Whereas the Play Store is right over here and has hundreds of thousands of games and all the software that is completely ignored because Ouya wanted to do its own thing. Nintendo probably has obviously a better back catalog than Ouya, but ideally, it's one of the only times where I'm saying the Ouya is great because it failed for Nintendo to succeed. Hopefully, I'm being positive about it.
Also, the Ouya $100 so that Nintendo could succeed later.
Yeah, so
on.
basically, I'm a Nintendo stockholder.
Well, what you're saying. You did it.
Well, I think you guys are kind of hitting on the big deal there, which is the Ouya's hardware was garbage.
Not really. I mean, it was
pretty.
It was a piece of shit. Piece of shit phone.
Yeah, it was a really bad Android device. I mean, it was like a one laptop per child sort of. It was like a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, it was $100.
But I'm just saying it was low. It couldn't play. It's not really meant for playing games.
But the Dreamcast ran on Windows. That's something that like a lot of people don't really remember.
Did it really?
Oh yeah, it ran on Windows CE, a customized fork of Windows CE. So
Weird.
It's using an existing OS to power a games machine. You're already doing that. That happens all the time. And SteamOS is another example. The operating system is divorced from the hardware. So Nintendo could, and they're actually pretty good at making efficient small hardware. And then Android's just an interpretation layer that just makes it so a lot of people can actually develop for the damn thing instead of a non-documented, customized operating system that they write themselves. So not only does Nintendo not have to write their own software, but developers now don't have to relearn software. It cuts a lot of corners, and it just makes sense.
It seems like they'll be succeeding where also I think Microsoft failed and dropped the ball. They had the Kinect, and they didn't, and they have Windows, and then just no one wants to develop for it. Whereas you could have made like fart apps for like 35 cents.
Yeah.
That would have worked well with the Kinect, but they were like, no. We want fighting games. And AAA is like, no one wants that crap. Like, you should have really simple, like, it should just make your face fat and you charge $1 for it. That's all they want. That would have sold.
There were a lot of weird things like that for 3DS and DS, actually. Like for DSi, when they had all those weird download, they were like, here's a notebook app for $1.
Yeah.
But get it and write down your notes or something.
So the Nintendo eShop's garbage, and when you download stuff, it's like, your blocks are almost done. You're like, this is... What year do we live in? Joel, are you bored? You okay?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So, just to put a fine point on it, Android does not mean phone, it does not mean mobile, and it doesn't mean, like, underpowered. All those things are divorced from Android, which simply just means that, like, a lot of people would know how to make games for it, which is a pretty good thing. And actually,
even you.
Yeah, I mean,
make one.
Are you pointing at Joel?
Yeah, Joel, make a game.
I did a little Googling around. The Unreal Engine, Unity, and CryEngine all already run on Android.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if
shit.
if the NX has a universal implementation of Android on it, you can just plop Unreal on it and it'll work. That's the magic of using universal operating systems.
If the hardware can actually keep up with it.
That's the other thing. Yeah, if the hardware's good enough, it can run whatever.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see Nintendo not playing catch up for once. It'd be kind of cool if they could like at least be on an even playing field.
Well, so it's weird, right? Because Nintendo makes a point of saying we don't like Microsoft and Sony have a handle on third-party ports of AAA games, and I think Nintendo understands that they need those, but that's not their focus. If that makes sense. They obviously want to offer.
They like the first-party titles.
Yeah. Well, what they want is they want third-party software developers to make software for their hardware that exclusively utilizes their hardware. So they basically want to own it all, which is interesting. I don't know if they're ever going to again, but
I was first, Adam.
Man.
It's a stalemate, though. Look at France.
I can't control the other soldiers in my army.
You should be able to. You need to
I'm
bring
not.
their
I
morale
don't
up.
have that. I don't have the command of
Really
this
so.
entire army.
You know,
Anyway.
you have the command if you have the confidence.
so one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was first.
That's
Pretty
not
confident.
One final point is that if Nintendo hardware typically comes out in 5 to 6 year cycles, and at this point, we're looking at new hardware in 2017.
2017, Joel, you ready?
Joel, you did it.
Are you ready?
Well, the
No.
Wii U's a freaking joke and didn't sell well, so. And I own one.
It sold okay in the beginning.
Not compared to the Wii. I mean,
Oh well,
Didn't
yeah.
sales also pick up when Smash Bros came out?
Yeah,
Like
check.
a good amount.
Yeah, they
Check.
picked up, but yeah, they need to go the PlayStation route. Basically, make a strong piece of hardware that is affordable and that people want and doesn't confuse people like CNN when you show them controller and like, so this is a new controller for the Wii. It's like, no, it's all new console. Explain again?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I don't know. Either way, and it's the same thing we've been saying for a long time, or at least I've been screaming, is that it's all about convergence. And a game company adopting Android, just a big company like Nintendo, if they were to adopt it, it proves the theory that everything, your tablet, your console, they're all going to become the same thing eventually.
Oh.
And the cloud and all that stuff. So get used to it.
I mean, we're essentially it's so hard for people to wrap their minds around now, but it's really like movies or any other form of entertainment. You can watch a movie on almost any device, and it's made that way to encourage consumption. It's going to be that way for games eventually too. Like you will pay the service provider to access the game that they have on their service, but you can access that service from any number of devices.
Why Nintendo doesn't do a $5 to $15 a month program where you can just access their entire library?
God damn it!
The back catalog. I do not know. Why
I have to trust that they've run the studies and they're probably earning more selling a la carte to people.
Maybe.
And my guess is they don't. They're a lot like Apple, where they don't want. You're just running around the castle. They don't want people to have a bad experience.
I think that's it.
With
yeah.
their old games on the Wii U controller or whatever, because it's not mapped. Who knows?
Yeah.
They don't like that. So it's like the same with Apple, where Apple doesn't want people to use a really old iOS because their phone will be really slow.
Meanwhile,
Same
people are
deal.
putting NES emulators on their Amazon Fire TVs.
That's a really good point.
and playing their
Absolutely.
games for free because
On like a shitty touch screen and it's
Yeah.
all laggy and
Absolutely.
you can download their entire library on NES within like 4 megabytes.
But Nintendo doesn't see those people because they're such a small percentage of the general population they're selling to. So-
Field Ham. Nice.
Anyway,
Cool.
GG Nintendo.
Yeah.
So there's
nice
another
job.
rumor we talked about for a half an hour.
I hope that one's true. I think that'd be really cool.
I do
Yeah,
too.
I do too.
Yeah.
It would. I've gotten tired of seeing Nintendo be like an old grandpa. He's like, I still got Pokemon. And you're like, God damn it. All
I
right.
mean, at the end of the day, they know their audience and they know how to sell to them. But at the same time,
That's the other thing. Yeah, they've been profitable for every quarter except one in the last 30 years.
All right,
But-
to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I
I have 2 questions.
Two questions.
how does this affect the consumer?
Uh-huh.
And why is it exciting? Like, why are you excited about it? If it's just going to be Nintendo.
How does it affect the consumer? You will have more games on your Nintendo system.
All right, that's a good answer.
There you go.
And
what was the other one question?
I guess that's also why it's exciting.
Why is it good for the consumer?
Yeah.
I would say because Android is a very good and tested operating system, and it has a lot of potential. And I'm excited to see a big company adopt it. That is only focused on games.
In a new way.
Yeah, I would like to see Nintendo's
That's
take on
exciting.
Android.
That's interesting and exciting.
I'm really not excited to be like, what's Samsung going to do this year with Android? Because they always skin it and they kind of just do their own thing. And it's like, wow, their settings look different. I don't care. Like, they made the camera cool. Fine. It's like a game company adopting it, like a real game company, not Ouya. Like, whatever. I mean, Nintendo's an actual real company.
Ouya dude just like he walked out of his Alcoholics Anonymous. He got his coin and then he just like started listening to Dude Soup. He just flicked it in the gutter and walked right into a bar. That's you, Adam. You did that.
Oh, sorry.
And then finally, I'd also like to say I would say that I'm about 85% as dumb as I was during those questions. I knew some of the answers, but I wanted to make sure that the conversation wasn't too technical. I'm an idiot.
Oh.
I'm a real idiot. But I'm not as 100% stupid as I probably came across there, hopefully.
So Joel wants to make sure that you know he's smarter than he sounded.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's telling me.
You have an
which
Nexus
means
6.
he's not
You're
very
pretty smart.
Yes, I was!
He bought an Nexus 6 because of me.
Oh, kill that guy. You're going to get the base if you kill him.
5 because of
I need
you.
my powers back,
Oh,
though.
yeah, that's right.
Oh, you're waiting for your
I
cooldowns.
bought Nexus 6 because that was the new
Cooldown's take a really long
That was
time.
my new hotness.
So-
I had the Nexus 6
but I
before.
didn't like
everybody else.
Okay, bring it back.
What I think is pretty exciting to think about is
Sword wave!
if
Swordwave's pretty exciting.
so if Nintendo's device runs some implementation of Android, it is conceivable that Android could become a desktop operating system rivaling Microsoft in terms of gaming.
I think that's ultimately Google.
Goggle.
I'm getting tired. Google's plan is
of course.
they want to be in everything that you own, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Project Fi. Like,
Yeah.
they're your carrier now.
Yep.
And pretty soon they're going to be your internet. They're going to be your TV, your game.
I got an
console.
invite today.
Yay!
God damn it.
Now
You're
you
going to have
buy a
so
new
much
phone.
money, James.
It doesn't
I don't
work
think
that
I'm
way.
going to do
Yeah,
it.
you open the email and money just shot out of your monitor right in your
Explain
pocket.
your theory. How does it work? How do you make money off of Google Phones?
Because I'm paying less no matter what.
Right, but
So
you're still-
over time, he is not spending as much. Is what he
That's
makes
not
it
the same as
say.
making money. It's just
That's profit. That's
the
pure
flow of
profit.
red ink going out of your pocket is a little.
I'm
less,
making
yeah.
money. Google's putting money in
You
my
ever heard
pocket.
of money?
Thank you, Google.
That's mine.
Google's putting money in my
They're
pocket.
paying me to use this phone. It's great.
How are we doing here?
What are you checking? Why it's not been an hour yet?
The time man's here.
Calm down.
Man.
We still gotta talk about this game for some
I'm
reason.
gonna fucking get this base, Commander.
All right, well,
First, a Mount Smasher!
Oh, nice.
nice.
Coin ye.
Hold on.
Got it.
Oh, I did it.
Contract
enjoying this
fulfilled.
audio,
Are you-
listeners?
Privateer?
I don't know.
Are you a mercenary for hire?
I took this base, though.
So here's another interesting headline in reference to the last story. I saw it today, or actually it was yesterday. Sorry. Man. Nvidia. Man.
Man.
Here, take you this impossible game that I just beat back.
Oh, Adam.
Here, I'll play it.
Adam doesn't want to play video games.
I don't like this game.
Oh,
Well, sometimes you don't like things you don't understand.
Adam's not a scholar of history.
I really hope you
Like,
impress
League of
somebody
Legends.
today.
And
I really
Lobos.
do.
I impressed Lawrence.
I'm impressed.
Bruce got excited a little bit there.
You
when I
got
stormed
a
that
new
base.
book. You can.
I got a new book. Look, see?
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, NVIDIA, so I'll just read the lead here. NVIDIA is expanding its suite of GameWorks tools with the addition of Android Works, which it says will help unshackle developers from the constraints of Android Software Development Kit and unleash the power found in Android devices. Basically, NVIDIA is now putting out middleware to help the Android OS be more gaming-centric.
Well, you know why, right?
I don't,
They just put out their Shield, their new version
That's
of the
right.
Shield.
Oh,
If you've been keeping any sort of tabs on Nvidia, you're
I
as
have.
confused as I am, because they have 3 different Shields and they're all 3 different devices. It's very annoying. I own one of them. I have the tablet. Before that, it was the controller with the screen
Yeah, that
popped
one looked
out.
kind of dumb.
And now the next one is basically a
Capture Romaine.
It's a setup box, basically.
Where is
it's a little.
Romaine?
It's like a Roku.
Is it the one at the top, the glowing one?
Maybe.
That one's
I'm
going to
really
be
excited
tough.
if you'd have to come up with a title that's really interesting for this episode of Dude Soup, Bruce.
Oh, it'll be Silent Hill.
Sword Storm!
Silent Hills related or
Sword
something.
Storm and
There it
the
is, yeah.
Shield!
Regardless, it sounds like Nvidia's. I'm kind of considering getting that thing because like I said,
know what I do.
I messed around with the Chromecast, and it's good. And apparently, fuck it, let him talk.
I don't know.
I'm moving away from the microphone.
Yeah. I think
Put two mics on your face.
I don't know. I think this news is particularly exciting because for the first time in I want to say about 20 years, it is feasible to consider that an OS other than one made by Microsoft might be a good solution for gaming. And yes, you Linux guys can yell at me. People that like Blizzard games can say Mac is good. Whatever, man.
What?
Yeah.
Mac's fine if you don't want any PC
I like
games.
Blizzard games, and I played on Mac for 5 years, and I hated myself.
There you go. Good job.
I grew up playing Mac games. It was misery.
There. See, good.
Yeah.
You guys
I
have-
had Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max at the Road, and maybe SimCity. That was it. It
Mac.
was horrible life.
A computer for gaming.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Don't ever consider that.
Go get Alan.
Spool, would you install Android if it were free?
On my iPhone?
Nope.
Oh,
on
shit,
your
Spool's
desktop.
Windows 10's gonna be free though.
If you have to own a previous version of Windows, I guess you already do, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well,
Not that I promote it in any way, but you heard about the piracy thing too, right?
yeah. Even if you pirate it, you get a copy for free, right?
I would-
It's crazy.
I would-
Well, this is competition. Like Microsoft's not dumb. They can see the moves that Google is making,
Yeah.
and they're like,
really
well,
have
shit.
to go
Okay,
full
we have to give it away to keep it on people's PCs, and that's awesome. Like it's awesome from our
I was gonna say they
perspective.
have to compete with Google.
To answer your question, Lawrence, I would try it if it seemed like it was worth it.
All right,
So you would delete
You'd set up a
your
partition?
old operating
No,
system.
no, no,
on your
I have
computer.
an extra.
you can set up, shrink your partition, do a
anything.
dual install.
I pressed X.
All right, so
strike.
finally,
Oh!
to round out, here's a topic I am actually pretty salty about.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Put that out. That's not gonna.
I knew it was gonna happen, and I don't care.
That's gonna sound real bad on the.
So this is kind of a trend I've seen in games writing and games media for a while. Just like the self-imposed, like jaded, just so over it nature of games coverage.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? Mr. Colin Campbell over at Polygon wrote a Rock Band 4 preview in which he spent the entire time saying just how over Rock Band 4 he was. James, I wanna read a paragraph to you,
Okay, I'm gonna love it.
and I want you to express yourself.
Can I
via-
imagine him with a handkerchief fanning
You won't
himself?
have to. He says exactly what he was doing.
Okay.
So he was at a Rock Band 4 event, talking about how he's on the roof of a pricey hotel in this media event. So here we go. Quote, I'm standing at a safe distance, drinking fizzy water, eating puff pastry canapes. Canapes? Joe, how do I say it?
Canopies.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Canopy.
Eating puff pastry canopies and chatting to another colleague about politics in the Philippines. I'm having an okay time.
Canopy.
But I'm supposed to be focusing my attention on Rock Band 4. But there's more chance of Ferdinand Marcos leaping onto that stage than there is of me mounting the boards, swinging a guitar strap around my neck and yelling, whoo.
This is like an Ain't It Cool news update from 1997.
I don't care about rock music. I dislike crowds and I dislike loud noises. I don't do public performances excepting Toastmasters, which I enjoy from time to time, along with a half dozen accountants, school teachers, and self-improved nutters.
He's the perfect person to go to this event.
Basically,
Why do you hate your job?
I like that he presumes that anyone reading this is more interested in him than they are in Rock Band.
Yeah, because it's all about him.
Fuck that guy.
thank you for saying it, James. There's been, I don't know what it is, but there's this like a masturbatory celebration of self when it comes to writing, I guess in general, but games writing specifically, about when you're writing about a game and then you immediately make it about yourself, you're doing a disservice to your reader who cares about the game. And I've seen this happen a lot, and it's happening even more and more, I guess, as writing becomes more insular. People kind of write for each other and themselves. And it bugs me because this is about games. Like, games are fun. Like, how cool is it that anyone would get to use any of their time to go play a music game that's not out yet and probably be fed for free?
Yeah.
That's
well,
a
he's
double
getting paid.
win.
He's also getting paid.
Yeah.
And get paid to do it. And to spend the whole time complaining about just how over it you are.
But what I resent the most is that, yes, to your point, it's not even about his experience playing the game, it's about his experience being at the event. It's honestly like going to a movie and reviewing the theater and the Coke as opposed to reviewing the movie that you're reviewing. Yeah. It's retarded. It's so meta. It's so up your own ass.
Also,
They
it's
didn't jerk him off when he got there, and he was sad.
And at least it's not a review, right? He's not writing a review of Rock Band 4 with all this BS in it, right?
Yeah.
But he must know that people are only clicking on this because they're interested in a game of which there is not that much information.
But did he like
available.
the pastries?
So when he's talking about the wine spritzer or whatever he's sipping on while he's dreaming of his time from Thailand, I don't give a shit. All right, and I don't think anyone should give a shit.
Yeah, well, this comes up a lot where a lot of people. I mean, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but we very rarely complain about our jobs. We're always like, "Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful job. We get to play video games and talk about them, and people care, and that's really cool." And I'm never gonna sit here and be like, "You need to listen to what I say." We're always like, "Take our opinion or fucking leave it. I don't care." Like, we're just gonna talk, and if you want to stick around, that's cool. We're gonna try to entertain you, because there are 16 guys behind us who will take our jobs and probably do a better job.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give it to them. This guy sounds like I need out of this fucking job. Oh my god.
Yeah, go be a political correspondent.
And it's like, then go, please go, because you
hate
clearly don't like it.
If you hate your free video games so much, right, and being paid to talk about your free video games, please leave.
All right. He spends the entire article saying everyone's having a good time. I can't get into it. Everyone's drinking and singing. I can't get into it. It seems like people are excited about the changes the game has made. I can't get into it. Then I don't. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Also, I'm sure at some point in that article, I haven't read it. I've only heard what Lawrence said, but I'm already angry. But I'm sure at some point in that article, he concedes. Maybe it's just me. Does he ever concede that maybe this is just my perspective on it?
Yeah, he does.
Which I'm sure he feels really, really good about himself for doing.
Right.
Except for the fact that he is writing a preview of a game.
Your job was to provide a service to your readers.
No, he's Hunter S. Thompson.
It's Gonzo.
Hunter S. Thompson worked really, really hard to develop the personality that was so interesting that he could go and experience something and write about him experiencing it, and it would be unique, right? This guy is not Hunter S. Thompson.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He will be, though.
Yeah.
So I think
Rock Band.
I do wonder if, because I've seen this happen more and more, and the tone is getting more and more severe. I wonder if like you have these I hate to say these writers because I'm a writer too, but maybe there's this almost like midlife crisis aspect where somebody's like, I can't spend my entire life writing about how many features are in Rock Band. I have to make my writing mean something and break the mold. Talk about
you probably shouldn't write about video games.
Well, or consider. Sorry,
You're not gonna change the world.
Or just consider it that's your job. I'm sure a machinist at the Toyota factory doesn't fucking love being a machinist at the Toyota factory, but he goes home and if he's a creative person who likes actually working with tools, he has a shop. He works on his stuff. Like, it's your fucking job. Do your fucking job, you millennial piece of shit.
Oh, no!
I assume this guy's
I'm a millennial
our
piece
age.
of shit.
I was gonna say, a lot of these companies have multiple reviewers, and they'll usually like draw straws or like pick whatever games or whatever thing they're gonna go to. So I don't know why they wouldn't have picked someone that was into the Rock Band series in the first place, and not someone who's like, oh, I hate you.
I guess I'll do it.
Well, it's because Polygon doesn't view itself that way. They're like the hard-hitting truth Bible of the games industry, except that no one gives a shit about the truth Bible of the game industry.
That piece has more opinion and less journalism than any of our pieces that we do on
I'm
the
not
note,
saying-
and we don't consider ourselves
I'm not saying
journalists.
journalism.
No.
But he
I'm
says
saying-
he specifically says games journalists.
Well,
and games journalism.
I don't doubt that he considers
At the
himself
top.
one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
my
there you
God,
go. Yep,
wow,
you're right.
We're taking this castle, guys.
He also
you
said
gotta find the base commander.
he used the words effervescent and gregarious. That's the big thing is
going right out.
No, I do.
that's kind of where I saw it started is when people started using smart words. And it's fine to a point. No, Joel. Like,
I was gonna say, if you're gonna write a book 10
Saturated.
ways to alienate your audience,
yeah, that's the thing.
it is to talk down to them.
Your writing is meant to be accessible and educational, and entertaining, like all of those things. But when you're thesaurusing and like trying to pick the most obscure and smart word that you can, you're writing for yourself. You're not writing for your audience anymore, and that's the thing that kind of gets on my nerves.
Especially when your article's already kind of hoity-toity and like, I'm too good to be here,
I
or
get that map
whatever.
out.
Yeah. So that kind of gets back to one of the points, and I can wrap this around to one of the first points I made when we were talking about the rumor, the Silent Hills rumor, is that I think in this lack of actual news or things to actually write about or any meaningful analysis to have because there's just not that much information out there anymore.
Also, there's drought before E3. Let's be honest.
That's very true. You're very right about that. And E3 is another point to talk about when it comes to people being jaded. But I think that it's interesting because the state of games media, especially games writing, has suddenly become somebody writing an opinion piece and then people just firing back and forth about that, kind of like we are right now. So like, Total Biscuit will call someone out, and then that person will respond, and they'll basically be like throwing stones over this wall, and that becomes the discussion of games media instead of having fun with games.
There was a really popular
Like what?
The rap wars.
There was a highly
Cool, please say that as much as you
topic,
can.
On the R Game subreddit, where someone did pop in and go, I'm a little concerned that the majority of the topics in the gaming, in our games, was about like the political drama behind games and all this sort of thing, and it wasn't really about actual video games.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, look, we get nerdy and nitty gritty and just talk about stuff, that probably most people probably aren't interested in, but it interests us, and I think we found an audience that does like it. But that is true. Like, people really do. Maybe they just find that more interesting and not. Whereas at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm always like, look, I just want to play a video game.
Yeah.
I spent this entire weekend playing Destiny. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy having fun.
Blade Storm.
Blade Storm.
Hey guys, we're done.
I'm gonna catch some shit this week. I'm gonna
All of you guys are, because you yelled at a man.
I've never met him.
You said his name,
and that was the problem.
He may be a wonderful person. I don't know. I do take issue with the intent and the wording of that article, though.
Well, you guys were vicious, so if you want to do your apology now, this is the best time.
I wasn't
Oh
part
no,
of it.
I'm gonna apologize on Twitter with a tweet for sure.
I'm gonna retract everything we just said.
For being
and-
There it is.
for
Fool's
being-
retracting it.
I'm gonna apologize for being uncivil, but I'm not gonna apologize for thinking like that's a waste of fucking bandwidth right there. That article.
Kind of is, yeah.
Kaboom.
Boom.
You just stop being an angry boy.
You just got boomed by Real.
Also, I guess I should concede I didn't read the article. I just listened to the
I read it.
one portion that
It's all of
warrants-
that. It's
warrants-
just that
it's
over and
all
over.
of
No, the whole thing. I just read the whole thing. It's bullshit.
Yep. So thanks for listening
To our bullshit.
to our bullshit.
We look forward to your many articles writing about us.
Well,
real bad this
I guess
week.
my summary about that is I take pride in the fact that, on the know and on the podcast, we talk about games. We don't talk shit about other people except for this one time. But it was to make a point.
Maybe.
So, that's typically something we stay out of, and if you've ever wondered why, that's why. And if you've ever asked us to dabble in that stuff and we don't, that's why. It's because, I don't know, we like to...
We get heated.
I don't know.
Well, it's about games. It's about
I think it gets a little toxic.
It gets incestuous, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it I don't know, it gets into, like, camps. People get tribal about it. It's just weird.
All right.
Games are fun.
Thanks for listening.
Nintendo will win the generation
Don't
of.
worry, we still love you.
Bye-bye. Adam's right, though. Nobody picks up the game and goes, I can't wait to find out what happens to Nathan Drake.
Is he
Like-
still faithful to Elena?
No,
But when they defend it,
Well, no, but that's when they defend it, though. But when they're like, for example, like in their deepest, darkest moments, when they go and fucking pre-order the game, they're not like, like you said, is he still married to Elena? No,
I
nobody
know.
gives a fuck.
I know, because it all comes back to money and whatever. Like, it doesn't. It's the same. Why isn't the studio saying we shouldn't make another Uncharted?